Hello again and welcome to this edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. If you listened to Prime Minister Andrew Holness and Dr. Nigel Clarke's budget presentations, you know they had a lot to say. From no new taxes to housing programs targeting young people. I know you want to hear more about the budget debates. Economist Dr. Adrian Stokes is sitting down with Theodore to give us the breakdown. Come, let's get straight into the facts.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm Theodore Henry. In his most recent budget presentation, Prime Minister Andrew Holness indicated that Jamaica was now at a World Cup level of economic performance. Among his assertions, more Jamaicans are employed than at any other period since the country's independence. And in the grand scheme of things, our current economic state is all wrapped up in Jamaica being placed on the world's map as a shining star in debt reduction. After all that, the Prime Minister goes on to say that the nation still lacks enough skilled workers. So how is this being addressed, and what does it imply for the growing economy? The word is productivity. All of this will be reviewed with the economist and Chief Executive Officer of Qantas Capital, Dr. Adrian Stokes, who will provide a breakdown. Dr. Stokes, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Let's jump right into getting some facts. This is going to be a dense one, I believe. But we've now heard both the budget presentations from the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister. What's your general reaction to both?
Well, I'm very happy that as a country we have moved away from tense budget discussions that were faced with or caught up with tax measures. This budget debate was around how to leverage the fiscal stability, the macroeconomic stability on behalf of the Jamaican people. Right. So that's a very, very good thing. It means that we have come a long way as it relates to fiscal maturity. So we're now in a better position. And so on both sides, the government side as well as on the opposition side, the discussion focused around how to leverage the benefit. How do you invest more in the wider economic infrastructure? And importantly, how do you invest more in the people?
Which is a possibility now because tax has fallen, debt has fallen.
Debt has fallen, absolutely.
Right. We're going to talk some more about that. But before that, were there any surprises, unexpected things you heard?
No surprises, and again, that's a good thing. The focus of the debate was around how do we continue to have a path that is fiscally sustainable. Right. That is very, very important, which means that we will continue to see the debt to GDP level falling going forward. That's very, very important as it relates to freeing up resources, financial resources, so the government can invest in infrastructure, in things like roads, in things like water, invest in the people, education and training, so we can improve productivity in the country.
Right, so let's talk a bit more about that. There were certain things that jumped out. The $200 million in tuition support, we heard about that. There's a $500 million fund housing for tourism workers who live in substandard conditions. We heard about the HEART program and the stipend, $13,000 per week, $15,000 transportation, sounds good. The National Housing Trust receives up to 10% of current housing plans for contributors under 35 years old. And one more that stood out was the graduates at the Level 4 trade program receiving a grant of $50,000. All of these, as you mentioned a while ago, seem people-focused. What do you think this is going to do for productivity?
Great question. So a good way to see Jamaica is to examine three issues that we're faced with.
Okay.
High debt, low productivity, low economic growth.
Right.
The measures that you mentioned, they go to the heart of the low productivity issue.
Okay.
We have been dealing with the high debt issue, and we have made significant progress as a country. And the measures, and I'm very happy that this budget focused a lot on people, investing directly in people. So for example, issues that deal with no guarantors for accessing student loans, making monies available for students who need financial assistance. Making HEART more proactive in terms of reaching out to Jamaican youths and increasing the cadre of Jamaicans who are trained. Those things will, over time, improve our people, improve productivity in the country, and ultimately will begin to tackle the low economic growth dimension of the problem as well. So very, very happy that as a country, we have moved, let's say, decisively to start dealing with the low productivity issues that we have had for many years.
Because looking at some of these, and based on what you're saying, people focused, I get the sense of it's about attracting people into spaces. For example, the heart stipend, the transport thing, is to attract people to hearts offerings.
Yeah, absolutely. If you think about it, we have low unemployment, but some of the employment is of a nature where persons are still earning low wages. So the key question then is, how do we improve the wages that people earn? One key thing to do is to improve their training in a very serious way. In other words, bring them up the value chain. And HEART can do that. HEART will have a significant role to play as it relates to training our young people. One thing that people will complain about, and the Prime Minister mentioned this, is that they don't have the resources to go to the HEART location to be trained, right?
Okay.
With the government now solving that problem, that eliminates or at least reduces one of the excuses that anybody can have for not going to HEART to be trained. So it's been very, very proactive, very, very targeted, and importantly, going after our most important resource as a country, our people, and importantly, our young people.
We've been talking about heart, and largely we're talking about productivity, getting people skilled. You touched on that a bit, which came out in the Prime Minister's presentation. Now, what about after the training takes place? Did we hear anything significant when it comes to job placement?
Well, the economic model is very simple. The private sector primarily creates the job opportunities for our people.
Right.
The government's role is to ensure that it has significantly targeted resources towards training our people, and it is doing that. That's a very good thing. Macroeconomic stability will ensure that the private sector has a good base to grow, right?
Okay.
Importantly as well, the private sector needs persons who are well trained, and that's where HEART comes in. That's where all the universities are important in terms of providing people who are trainable. And you can see the linkage now in terms of the policy recommendations or the policies that are being implemented.
Right.
The no guarantors, that's a very good thing. The providing subsidy or assistance for persons who need higher education, that's important as well. So the government is doing its part, playing its role as it relates to ensuring that there is a pool of persons who are trainable, so the private sector can absorb these persons and create meaningful jobs for our people.
All right, we are going right to a break now, but more on this discussion with economist and Chief Executive Officer of Qantas Capital, Dr. Adrian Stokes, when we return after the break.
One of the problems that occurred in the past was the significant delay in the issuing of warrants for persons who did not pay at the tax office and did not attend the court. And so what happened there was that a culture of impunity had developed, where persons felt that when they received a ticket from the police, they could simply ignore it. So where we are now is that we are now current with the issuing of warrants in respect of the current cases. So what that means is that for persons who do not pay at the tax office, don't attend the court, the warrants are being issued and will be issued, and you will be arrested and brought before the court. If you do not wish to come to court, then go to the tax office. Also, you have the option of contesting it, so you don't pay at the tax office, but you must turn up at court on the date and time stated in the summons. Failing that, a warrant will be issued and you will be brought before the court.
Welcome back to Get the Facts. Building a caring economy for Jamaicans. Are we in a better space economically than any other period? How will addressing productivity enhance the continuing growth of the economy? We're having the conversation with economist and CEO of Qantas Capital, Dr. Adrian Stokes. Let's continue from where we left off. Dr. Stokes, we were talking about placement, we've spoken about upskilling. Now, on the matter of unemployment, this has been a thing that's been spoken about a lot. The Minister of Finance, in his budget presentation, announced that there would be the introduction of unemployment insurance. Now, I think many people would hear that and not see a correlation to the benefits to the wider economy.
Right. No, it's a very good policy measure. It's a key part of also building a caring economy, ensuring that you have this safety net for persons who may lose their jobs during cyclical periods in the economy.
Right.
It also helps with the macroeconomy in terms of aggregate demand not falling too much whenever you have significant fallout in the economy. And we saw it in the U.S. economy, for example, when we had COVID. One of the big issues why we didn't see GDP fall as much in that economy is because they have relatively good unemployment insurance. And so the federal government was able to step up and write checks to persons who lost their jobs. So that's a good thing. And having it in Jamaica, it will also be a good thing for our economy.
Tell me, is it that you would have lost your job or that you have no job? To who does this apply?
So these are for persons who were employed and lost their job.
Okay.
Right? And then they can claim unemployment insurance.
Understood. Big question for you, Dr. Stokes. How are we affording all this without new taxes?
A key thing for any country is what we call the primary surplus. It's pretty much our piggy bank, which how you arrive at the primary surplus is you look at your tax revenues and you subtract your non-debt expenditure, which means you subtract your programs, your capital, and your wages from your taxes, and you get your primary surplus.
Okay.
Jamaica has been running large primary surpluses for the last 8 or 9 years, which pretty much means that we have been building up our reserves. That's the reason, or at least one of the reasons, why we have been able to reduce our debt down to where it is today. And the government is now drawing on that piggy bank as well and spending some of that savings on our people, right? Including unemployment insurance, including paying for things like roads in terms of investing in physical infrastructure, right? So that's how a country goes about managing its affairs in a sustainable way. In other words, without borrowing in an unsustainable way, by drawing on the surpluses that you've built up over many years.
So you told me that an economy is an interconnected system.
Yes.
So forgive me for pulling out just one part. So continuing to reduce debt rises the available primary surplus. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, so if you think about it, right, if you don't have a huge debt, right, it means that the interest expense that the government has to pay will be reduced, right? And therefore, in terms of its overall fiscal position, and that's where you include interest expense to get what you call a fiscal position now, not just your primary position, but your overall fiscal position. Right. The fiscal position will be improved because your debt, or how you manage your debt, is far more tolerable as a country. And that's what we have seen, because debt has come down and has been coming down and will go down further in the future. It means that fiscally the government has more to spend. And that's why the government was able to spend so much on wages, public sector wages, nearly $200 billion in less than 3 years. That's massive, right? And it has done so without materially increasing its debt. In fact, as I said, debt has been going in the opposite direction. And that ability to spend more on wages and other things is because we have been running these primary and fiscal surpluses for the last, I would say 3, 4, 5 years.
Okay, in layman's term, is how your pocket look?
It's the piggy bank.
Okay, all right. So we are an island, but the old saying goes, no man is an island. Jamaica is in a global economy.
Yes.
How do factors outside of our shores, outside of our government, impact what happens here, fiscally and otherwise?
Yeah, we are very susceptible to global factors. We have reduced that vulnerability because we have built better buffers in terms of our net international reserves. That's a very, very good thing. Yeah. That we have improved our fiscal position. That's a very good thing. But notwithstanding, we still have significant vulnerabilities. And the global situation in terms of oil or international factors, geopolitical factors can also impact us, right? So the good thing to say is that even though we're vulnerable, we have improved our resilience, our macroeconomic resilience.
And we are continuing that system of doing the good things while doing new things. Have you seen that from the budget debate, that the good things that we've achieved are continuing?
Yes, absolutely. And that's a key theme coming out of the budget. And if you look at the government's fiscal program going forward, the key theme is sustainability, right? Do not blow the fiscal gains that we have worked so hard to put on the books over the last 5-6 years, right? Let us build on the fiscal benefits that we've worked very hard through many tax increases, through many wage freezes, through a lot of sacrifice by the Jamaican people, right? And as a Jamaican, and I would encourage every Jamaican to hold their MP, their politician accountable for the fiscal position. If someone comes to you and asks you and is telling you about significant expenditure in the fiscal, you need to ask them how they're going to fund it.
All right. That almost sounded like your final word, but I did promise you a few seconds. Directly to our audience, what's the last?
There's a key theme around Jamaica: high debt, low productivity, low economic growth. As a country, we need to make the next step, which is to break free of this cycle. And we have started to that work in terms of this budget and invest in our people. We have to do that. You're not going to get significant change in the economy by making one budget speech or one good budget of policies. You will need to do it in a consistent way over many years for us to break free of this cycle. And again, so as Jamaicans, we need to hold our politicians accountable, ensure that they are fiscally responsible, and importantly, ensure that they are spending the fiscal gains on the people of Jamaica, importantly, improving the productivity of our people.
All right, thank you so much, Doc. It's not just up there in the policymakers' room, it's down here.
Absolutely.
The people on the level. This has been Get the Facts, and our guest was Dr. Adrian Stokes, economist and Chief Executive Officer of Qantas Capital. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm Theodore Henry. Take good care.
This is my island in the sun, where my people have toiled since time begun. I may sail on many a sea, her shores will always be home to me. As morning breaks, the sun on high, I lift my heavy load to the sky. Sunbeams down with a burning glow, mixing my sweat with the earth below. I hope the day will never come when I can't awake to the sound of drum. Never let me miss carnival with reggae songs philosophical. Jamaica, oh, island in the sun, built to me by my father's hand. All my days I will sing in praise of your glorious waters, your shining sun. Oh, island in the sun, built by my father's hand. All my days I will sing praise of forest waters and shining sand. I see woman on bended knee, calling me banana. I see men at the waterside, passing nets and surging tide. Jamaica, my Jamaica, in the sun, willed to me by my father's hand. All my days I will sing with praise of your shining waters and shining sand. Jamaica, let me see your hand. Jamaica, all my days I will sing with praise of shining waters and shining sand. Jamaica, my Jamaica, my Jamaica. waters, your shining sand. All my days I will sing in praise of forest waters and shining sand.
Keep that smile on their faces and preserve their innocence. Cherish the moments you have with them and create the best memories. Let's inspire our children to dream big and work hard to achieve all they aspire to be. Take the time to listen to our children and really hear their side of the story. Our children deserve love and the right to access their basic needs. Do your part and protect our children.
Indeed, we must do all we can to protect our children. 3 little words from which Christiana High School is taking its cue and creating a positive enrichment behavior camp to help assist the youth turn their bad behaviors and stare into a better future. Learn more.
John, father, they are boring, can't wait till the summer step in.
So what you going to feel so now?
Me? No, sir, I might boy them they are planning to touch by the nigger side.
I'm so glad, man. I'm go camping, bro.
Oh, bad man, we're not the family camp, the church.
No, brother, if you don't go, brother, you're not going to be better, bro.
So, Nile.
You know, sometimes you have your good child home, and eventually you still cannot sway for your child behind your back. In front of you, you can sway for them. But behind you, there is nothing at all you can sway for them about. You know, you have your good child home, and meeting other children then, friends, you know you will have a changed child. Whenever time I talk to him, he's not hearing.
Ardia's Picnic, Niamrak Stone. But Christiana High School is giving disobedient students a break and a chance to cut their teeth on a better future through its positive enrichment behavior camp.
This camp basically started about a decade ago, from 2013. We took a break during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have seen an uptick post-COVID-19 pandemic, and hence we have decided to go back to the camp. The purpose really is to educate the students who we have here, who we have seen on a number of infringements for the school, and to empower them so that they can be reinstated in the regular program as good boys and girls.
Well, I am the brainchild of the camp. Based on my job description with the Ministry of Education, we have to come up with programs that caters to help to solve or to remediate students. So when I did a survey, I recognized that most of these students needed to be in an environment to be secluded sometime, pull apart, and do intervention with them. Because trying to do the intervention in school on a daily basis is kind of difficult. So at this time, when I looked at it after doing the survey, I decided that a camp in the summer would be ideal. From 2013, when we started the camp, I started it with just 25 students to pilot the program, but then I recognized that I could now get others into it, so I expanded it from the 25, and then in 2017, I moved it to residential because before it was a traveling camp.
We find that over the years, more of our boys are found in problems, situations, and and some of our girls, a handful of our girls, are getting themselves in problems with administration and this type of rules and regulations that we have here at Christiana High School. But we have put in place a mechanism. In fact, we have a number of other programs at Christiana High School that we cater to before we even get to the camp.
If we can save them without have to expel them, so when we put them here, we're giving them a chance to remain in school.
same paper for where you go with that? Me get 3 and you get everything. What go on?
Tell you, bro, camp, no brother, can't no brother.
And the camp did.
Yeah, bro, tell you, bro.
And if me did know.
If me did know, a widely used expression that most of us are familiar with. Regardless of your age, you are accountable for the decisions you make in life. Let us work together to make Jamaica a place where we all can live, raise our families, and do business.
Be a good student today for a brighter future tomorrow.
Respect can take you through life.
Even though we have this very low unemployment rate, Jamaica still has a significant number of great potential human resource outside of the labor force. Many of them are on the street corners, boring a hole in their hand middle. Some of them are drawn into crime and other deviant behavior. And some of them just choose to stay at home. We need you in the labor force, in the workforce, in order to ensure that our economy can continue to grow. In fact, this is probably the first time in maybe 4 or 5 decades that the availability of labor could be a constraint on our growth. Meaning that if businesses who want to expand can't find the labor force to do it, it will impact on their investment decisions. So right now, your government recognizing this, we have appointed a Minister of Skill whose job it is, through the Heart Trust NSTA, to find those youngsters, particularly those youngsters who left school, they have some training, but they just don't want to come into the labor force for whatever reason, to bring them into the labor force, to train them with skills that are aligned to the job opportunities and get them into the labor force. We want to get them employed, but we also need them in the labor force because that is what is going to expand the growth of the economy.
We've come to the end of today's show. To catch a repeat of this or any other, feel free to log on to our website, jis.gov.jm. Until next time, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.